We have already discussed the summary of the novel Surfacing by Margaret Atwood. And in today's video, we'll discuss the two major characters of the novel, the narrator, or say the unnamed protagonist, and Joe. The central character, the narrator, is a young commercial artist. She narrates the book from the first person point of view. She is an alienated person and cold blooded in her response to others. She travels north in search of her missing father to the cabin where she spent much of her childhood. In the process of discovering the circumstances surrounding her father's death, she regains touch with her past and her hidden emotional life. Atwood avoids naming the narrator of Surfacing in order to emphasize the universality of the narrator's feeling of alienation from society. The causes and effects of the narrator's psychological transformation remain somewhat mysterious. The narrator feels emotionally numb and isolated by the numerous roles she is supposed to play in her life. Her life is full of ups and downs. She has faced many difficulties as a young woman, and the impact of those events in her life has changed her life altogether. Part of the cause is grief, and part of it is due to spending too much time in the wilderness, in the lap of nature. But the narrator's madness also stems in large part from systematic social alienation or say isolation. Atwood explores a woman's place in all of its facets as a human being, as a daughter, as a wife, a mother, a religious person, and also a sexual being. The narrator's madness seems to arise from her anger at all of the standard roles forced upon women. How woman is a mere puppet in the hands of this male society or male dominated society. Her response to this alienation is to become an animal. She sees animals not as beasts without reason, but as graceful creatures that are better than humans at peacefully coexisting with nature. The result of the narrator's transformation is a greater understanding of her place in society. This understanding comes out of necessity because the narrator realizes that complete withdrawal from society will result in her death. However, the narrator also reaches new conclusions about how she will cope with society's ills, and she resolves to rejoin society without succumbing to the pressures that once subdued her. So, in a way, she surfaces herself and she come to terms with the society in which she has to live and in which she has to exist. Then next important character in the novel is of Joe. Joe is protagonist's current boyfriend, her lover. He is a failed potter who earns his living by teaching. Joe lives with the narrator in the city. He and the protagonist seem distant from each other in spite of living together in the same flat. At first, the narrator depicts Joe as simple minded and agreeable. But as surfacing progresses, Here, surfacing means surfacing the novel progresses as well as the surfacing of the character of the narrator. As it progresses, Joe's personality undergoes changes. Where once he seemed content, now he becomes irritable and sullen when the narrator refuses his marriage proposal. Also, Joe's actions become less predictable. His proposal is unexpected, and the narrator becomes less able to discern Joe's intentions. The narrator shows herself to be unreliable in depicting Joe objectively. Like, for example, she keeps bracing herself for a hit from Joe that never comes. As her impressions of Joe fluctuate, the narrator's impression of their love also shifts. Initially, the narrator downplays Joe's love for her. She believes that Joe wants to marry her out of a conceptual ideal and not out of affection. The narrator also downplays her love for Joe, claiming she only enjoys Joe for his physical qualities. Anyway, Joe is more emotional than the protagonist, and he is deeply hurt by her refusal of his marriage proposal. And in a way, uh, at the end of the novel, we see that the protagonist or the narrator, she has used Joe for uh, making herself equal, or to say establish her own identity or gain her own identity. So in this way, Joe is a very different type of a character, and the narrator filters Joe's actions through her own biases, and in this way making his true character unknowable to the readers. So, students, these are the two main characters of the novel: the narrator or the unnamed protagonist, and his lover or boyfriend, Joe. That's all for today. Thank you.